Hi guys, I'm Samina from thecodecottage.com and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are 1 week in our 30 days of code. It's day 7 and we are learning how to build your very own WordPress theme from scratch. So on day 6, that is yesterday, we finished working on this featured blog post section and look at how beautifully our site has come together. It's just amazing how much we have accomplished within these 6 days. And today on day 7, we will be working on the featured about me section, which is this one right here. It's extremely easy. We will be challenging ourselves by trying to accomplish certain things here by using different CSS techniques. So let's get started. I'm just going to head over to my Sublime text now. So here I am on my index.html page, and let's begin working on this. So I'll just copy this comment section and create a new section here called featured about section. So here we go. Now, as always, the very first thing that we have to do is create a section, and we'll give it a class of featured about, and then we'll move on ahead. So here we have section and we are giving it a class of featured about. Close that comment here. Perfect. Now here we need a row. There'll be just one row here, and within that row we'll have 2 columns, but we will divide that column in such a way that this image will occupy 1/3 of the screen space, and this text, all of this will occupy 2/3. So let's do that. We are familiar with this by now. So I'm going to give it a class of row. I'm going to close that comment here, and within that I'll create 2 divs, one with a class of call span 1 of 3. Close that comment as well. Span 1 of 3, and another div with a class call span 2 of 3. Perfect. Close the comment here. Brilliant. So now we have these 2 structures ready. So let's review the wireframe. So this column has an image and this column has a text, button and a background. So let's work on this image here. Now, like we had done for the featured categories, let me just head into my resources. I will be using this image. I have cropped that image to get a size of this. So it's 400 by 400 pixels. So this is what you get, and I've also renamed it to featured about.jpg. So let's go back to our Sublime text and add img, src, and obviously by now you know it's within the image folder. So we'll have img featured about.jpg. So let's just refresh that and see what it looks like. So we've got our image here. Now the next thing that we want to do is head over to this column right here. Here is where we will be adding the h1 tag and all of the other content. Now I was just playing around with the code before I started filming this because I wanted to be sure that we are all well in place. So I just felt like a better design decision here was to include this h1 tag within our text here, because this just feels kind of disconnected with the rest. So that's what we're going to do, and it's going to look really, really beautiful. So let me just go ahead and show you what I'm trying to do here. So before we actually start writing the h1 tags and everything else here, I will create another div and give it a class of featured about content. So it will be called featured about content, and I'll close that tag here. Dot featured about content. Brilliant. Now within this we will have all the tags. So say we want to adjust what the h1 should look like or what the paragraph inside this should look like, we can directly target that by using this class and then the paragraph tag or the heading tag, etc. So when we go into custom.css and style it, that's when you will realize exactly what we're trying to do. So I've added my h1 tag here and I'll say, hi, I'm Samina. Now we'll add the paragraph tag, and in the paragraph tag now I'm going to include some lorem ipsum text. So let's go to Google and go to lorem ipsum. Generate this, and I'm just going to select a couple of sentences here. So say up to here perhaps. You could even take more actually. Let's just take a little bit more. So I'm going to add that in between my paragraph tags, and then I'm going to add the a tag and hash for the link because we'll be linking it later on, and I'll be giving it a class of the same class that we have used for the full post. So btn full. Brilliant. So I'm just going to close that tag here and include read more. So let's go back to our website. I have a lot of bird songs happening here. So we have a crow and another bird just chirping around. So I hope you enjoy the bird song. So now you can see we have this over here as well. Now it's time for us to actually, our HTML part is over. So index.html is done. We won't be doing anything more here. What we'll be doing now is heading into our style sheet and making the changes there. So let me just copy this comment here, and here I will include the comment and make it featured about section. Perfect. Now I will firstly, very evidently, in fact, we see that there is a lovely cream background. So that's what we're going to go after. Very simple. We will have to target featured about because this is the container that contains everything within it. So dot featured about, I will give it a background color of that cream shade that we have over here. Copy that, paste it right here. Perfect. Now I'll also give it a padding because when I just do this, it's pretty tight and I just want it to look more spaced out. So I'll give it a padding of 5% top and bottom, 3% right and left. Let's see what that looks like. Perfect, I like that. Now I will move on to the image. So what I want here is, as you can see, this image, I want it to move slightly to the right. I don't want to center align it here because I am treating this entire thing as one element and it should be center aligned. So we'll be adding the background here. If you have guessed it by now, we'll be using the position relative, position absolute. So even before we begin that, as I had mentioned earlier, it's very important for the parent class to have the position of relative in order for the child class to be able to have the position of absolute. So if you want this to have an absolute positioning, if you want all of these elements to have absolute positioning, it's very important that this main parent class, the featured about class, has a position of relative. So let's add the position of relative over here. Perfect. Now we'll move on to our featured about image. So we are targeting the image within featured about. So I'll just, well, the width is 100%, so I'll just specify that. So it will automatically create the height, adjust the height accordingly. So we have made the width 100%, and margin to the left, I would give it 10%. So it will move by 10% from left, so it will move to right by 10%. So this looks perfect. So this space and this space here is consistent. So now we'll start working on styling this aspect. The way we do that is first go to featured about. Let's just work on the featured about content for now. Okay, so dot featured about content, and firstly I'm going to give it that background, this peachy pale orange background. So a long time ago, now I don't exactly remember what day it was, but I'll link it up on the screen right now. On that particular day, I had showed how you can get the RGBA value for any hex color, and we had actually taken out that value. So I'm just going to go back to my notes, and there you go, I have that. So I'm going to give it a background color of RGBA, where RGB is obviously red, green, blue, and A is for alpha, which decides the transparency of that color. So let's give it the value of 245, 198, 171, and I'll give it the alpha, an alpha of 0.5. So it's halfway through. It's neither opaque nor extremely transparent. So that's what it looks like, and I'm very happy with that and how that looks. So let's move on. The next thing now, obviously, very evidently, we need to give it a padding because it's very tight against the background. So I'll give it a padding of 4% top and bottom and 2% left and right. Let's refresh that. Looks amazing. Now we want to get this to the bottom. Now again, another thing that I've noted is this H1 tag is pretty much lower compared to this. So the spacing is not even at all. The space between the background colors bottom and the read more button is quite less compared to this. So let's first, before we move on, make changes to that. So I'll be going on featured about content, and H1 within it, I will give it a margin top. Now I wanted to go to the top, so I'll give it a negative value. I'll start with minus 30 pixels and see what that looks like, and if I need to make any further changes. I think minus 20 would be a better bet. Yep, perfect. I think that looks really nice. So now what I'll do is I'll get back to making changes here in the featured about content. So I will give it a position of absolute. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, perfect. Now as you can see, this has spanned the entire width of that section from where it begins, and we don't want that. So obviously, then you may have guessed by now, we need to reduce the width. So I'll give it a width of 60%. Let's see what that looks like. Perfect. 60 is maybe I'll give it, say, or maybe 60 is fine. I'll just probably remove that 10% and make it 5% just to see if that looks okay. Perfect. Now we will also be shifting this into this, right? So let's do that. But before we do that, we want to also position that margin left to 20%. And you may know this by now, because if the width is 60, then you need 40% more to finish that 100%. And then 40 when divided by 2 is 20. So margin left of 20%. Save that. Check what that looks like. And that's brilliant. So we have this, but it goes to that side because obviously we have given it a position of absolute. So we really need to make some changes here. Not a whole lot. It's really simple. We're nearly there. Give it a text align of center first. So everything is center aligned. Brilliant. And now we want this to move to the left. We want it to go to the left. We don't want this space here. So I'm just going to inspect element first. That's the best way I find to make changes to my content. So I'll just give it a left of say 150 pixels. Oh wow, that is perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. And then I'm also going to bring it down from the top because you can see there's more space here than over here. And if you look at the wireframe, we want there to be kind of like an equal space. And like I mentioned earlier, this looks much nicer than this. So design decisions on the way is important. At least that's what I do. So I'm going to take this down from the top. Let's see what 100 pixel looks like. Just maybe 110 might do the trick. And it does actually, it looks gorgeous. So I'm just going to copy these two. So left 150 and top 110 pixel and paste that into my style sheet. Then I will get rid of this inspect element part and refresh it just to see what that looks like. And I think it looks stunning. I'm just going to go back here, make this 10%. So margin left that I had changed from 10 to 5, I'm going to make it 10 again. And I just want to see what that would look like. Okay, this is brilliant. I think this is so much nicer. And would you believe our about section is actually done? We are actually done with the about section as well, and it looks absolutely stunning. So as you can see, the global styles really help because you didn't actually have to go back up there and style it all over again. You just use the same code for the button. Does the trick. H1 already styled, paragraph center aligned. Everything is just the way we want it to be. Perhaps this top could be, I don't know, 100 pixels maybe, or 105. You just have to keep playing around with the values to see what works best. And I think 105 pixels actually works like magic over here. So this is it. Our about section is done as well. And we are now only left with the footer. But I think we've had enough for today and we should wrap it up for this video. And I'll show you how to create this section and the footer section tomorrow on day 8. We are 1 week into our 30 days of code and we have already built most of our, almost 95% of our homepage. I really sincerely hope that you're proud of your achievement so far. If you've been coding along and if you've been making your own theme from scratch, it's amazing. And so let's just wrap up for the day. And if you are happy with the video and if you are learning amazing things and if you're learning something new every day, then give this video a big thumbs up. If you have any feedback, comments, suggestions, pop them down in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you get the notification. Also hit the bell icon so you are notified every time I post a new video. And I hope to see you again on day 8. Until then, goodbye and happy coding.